Hello and welcome to the MotorMotion E-Series. It's the Player1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship. We're back today for round 6 of Season 3 in Group A and Group B coverage for your viewing pleasure today. Once again, it's going to be, of course, Player1 Sim Gear, p1simgear.com.au. Go and check them out for all your sim racing goodies, all the hardware that you're looking for, and broadcasting today brought to you by Trackspot TV for all your graphics and overlays, professional immersion, commentary, and multi-platform streaming. Please go check out www.trackspot.tv. Of course, MotorMotion E-Series for all the latest news and articles, results, standings, and for what's coming up in 2026, head over to www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com. My name is George Cook, and I'll be in the commentary box with Andrew Scott. We'll hear from him in a moment's time. Here's the calendar. 5 rounds behind us, 5 rounds ahead of us, and today is a special event. We do have a sprint and a feature for the drivers to perform at today. So essentially a double qualifying is essentially the way that we're looking at it, because 10 laps around Interlagos is very, very short. And Interlagos, what a circuit to start the second leg of Season 3 on. And having a look at that, it is, of course, the 25-lap feature race that we'll be having on the broadcast today for both Group A and Group B. It's early morning out there, a little bit cloudy. Racing medium tyres are mandatory for the race. Tuning prohibited, and drivers, as always, will be allowed to adjust their brake bias. Ando, the weather looking okay out there at the moment, but give us a breakdown. Interlagos, it's a great place to go racing.
It sure is, George. G'day, mates, and g'day, viewers. Thanks for having me back again. And yeah, coincidentally, Formula One coming here after us, so I hope we leave the track in a somewhat decent state for that second-tier series that's coming here this weekend. But yeah, great track, Interlagos, very fast and technical. It's got some straights, but it's also got that inner infield section, which is very technical and hard on the tyres. So the 25-lap feature race today, somewhat a little bit shorter than a normal 50-minute race here, a normal round, but still a fair bit of strategy in play. Very long pit stop and mediums mandatory, so some different choices with strategy yet again to see unfold today.
It's going to be good, yeah, with the different cars that are available to the teams, all locked in, of course, since the beginning of the season, but it's going to provide an interesting little tell as to what we're going to see coming forward, because we have round 7 Watkins Glen, then we go to Daytona, and that infield very similar to the complexity we see here. Autopolis will be a bit of a change, probably the only really unique track out of all of them in this second half, and then Mount Panorama going to be a great way to finish off the season. I think we're pretty much ready to get down on track. We'll talk to you more in a few moments' time. Here we go, and Gautam Mahidajit did win the sprint race and got in qualifying pole as well. So a lot of points for Gautam Mahidajit today, ahead of Twitchy, and we are green flag racing. Down into the first corner we go, and it's a critical moment here. Nick Pfaff trying to attack early on, get ahead of that incredible Hooncorp car that's been so dominant, especially at the hands of Twitchy. Through the first couple of corners we go, and now into the first straight after turn 3. Going down to a critical overtaking section of turn 4. Very important to get this section right. And look at the concertina effect happening here. All the cars getting bunched up in the background. Dubzito, Water Arrow, Jansen returning as well into the MotorMotion series. Great to see him here. 2 Lightning Motorsport cars going side by side through turn 4 cautiously, because they know what happens if you make contact through there. You're either spun out onto the gravel or the runoff area, which is very, very lacking in grip. But Gautam Mahidajit has gotten away beautifully into this infield section, and the Nissan GTR has been looking mighty here so far, and the sprint results definitely show that. He definitely won the sprint result. It was a pretty dominant drive from him in that earlier race to set the grid today, and Twitchy has had really no fight back against Gopi's domination in this GTR early on.
Yeah, I tell you what, Gopi is on fire around here this weekend at Interlagos, so he's really, really driving beautifully, and he's taking it to Twitchy. Guys in the Supra, which is not quite suited to this track, I think. It doesn't quite have a long enough straight to stretch its legs and show off its top-end speed. So that GTR, though, around here is really, really going nicely for Gopi, and he's just been blistering both in practice and qualifying and the sprint race. He's really, really untouchable.
Indeed, I think we just seen him move there. Matt McCullum, he qualified very well and did very well in the sprint race as well. Actually ended up 5th position overall ahead of Andrew Scott, who is just sitting there in 6th at the moment. So we'll see. We'll check in with you in a few moments' time, see what the strategy is. Airborne up ahead into P5 as well. He's up a few positions early on. essentially got ahead of most of the other drivers on the grid. So good job for him in the sprint race, but started fourth in this one, has dropped a position. Matt McCullum coming on through in that first corner. Now to the infield section again. You can imagine the Ferraris should be pretty mighty around here.
Yeah, it definitely is, George. And McCallum, they're making a good move there at the start. He's up into fourth, a very good position. And I'll tell you who else is doing really well is Faf in the RCZ. He's really sticking it to the rest of the midfield pack there, sitting there nicely in that final podium position and doing some pretty good lap times too.
Looks like a lot of the drivers are actually starting on the medium tyre. They're trying to get this mandatory out of the way. Likely to be switching to the soft, what do we think? Surely not a hard tyre today.
Probably not a hard, but definitely could go medium today. You just want to split the race in two. Or if you can go a bit longer on the fuel and the medium tyre in this stint, you might be able to switch to the soft to finish off the race.
There we go. So either a two-stop or potentially a one-stop. I guess not really a two-stop. If you want to take the risk with the soft tyres, I guess you can try it. And you'd have to push pretty long on the mediums, though. Here we go, side by side. An RCZ there. Chris Farderpapa involved with Matthew Jointson. Looks like Lightning Motorsport have stayed ahead yet again. Dubzito trying to fight for position as well for P11. So it's a nice attempt there by Matthew Jointson, but he's way further down the grid than we'd expect him to be. And oh, that's a big moment for Water Arrow, caught directly on cameras. He spins, he puts the rear end into the barriers.
Yeah, through the center S's there, he just took a little bit too much curb on exit, and the rear end of that BMW does get a little bit taily at the best of times. And just as the torque was coming in there in third gear, the rear end let go on him, and he just wasn't quick enough to catch it.
A tricky part of the course coming out of turn 3, and you want to get the power down, but you've got to ride the curbs all the way through there. Not easy to handle. Give us a breakdown. I mean, from your point of view, your race as well. What's going on with these BMWs? Are they strong here? Should they be feeling stronger, or is not a good track for them?
Yeah, I was definitely struggling in practice around here, George. I think I was about 5 kph down over the finish line to the GTR. So I think the BMWs are going to struggle around here today, and I definitely know that I'm just trying to outsmart the cars around me here because I definitely don't have the pace, and I'm just trying to maybe win the race against my rivals on tyre and fuel strategy. So the BMW not quite suited to this track, but the likes of the Ferrari and the GTR, for whatever reason, really do love it around here.
Yeah, indeed. It's probably a lot of the tighter infield section. They can gain a lot of advantage, or even just through turns 1, 2, and 3. Looks like fastest lap there from Twitchy. He's putting a lot of pressure now on Gopher Mahinajit. Into turn 4 we go. And you can see that the GTR is sort of aiming to use its exit power, whereas the Supra just seems to be able to dive into the corner quite a lot, but is losing a little bit of time on the exit. Sharp turn in there for the 722. Gopi not phased at all by that, but has a little moment on the curves on the outside as we head into the infield section. Oh, it's so tricky when your car gets loose like that, but quick reactions, the only medicine for that, I think.
Yeah, Gopi's really driving well, George. Twitchy's definitely being held up here, I think. He's right under his rear wing there nicely, but Twitchy's being a bit patient, but also showing the respect that Gopi deserves here. Twitchy's not going to make any drastic moves or, force his way by, because he knows that Gopi is just that caliber of driver that deserves that respect. So they're driving around here at quite a rapid pace. They've gapped the field well and truly by now, already on just lap 4. So these guys are absolutely lighting up the timing boards. And you see there the Supra is just starting to gain on the GTR there at the end of the straight, but just the turn 1 and the center S has come up too soon, so that the GTR just manages to stay ahead. It's got really epic acceleration out of that last turn and up that final hill towards the start-finish line. It does have a power advantage over most of the other Group 3 cars.
Yeah, indeed. And you can see there, even in the first straight that we go through, the Supra not really able to use its top speed at this course at all. I think we do need to introduce an alien category here for these two guys. At the moment, no one else. I mean, you can see the feel right now. Faf has sort of put himself smack in the middle of the back pack, starting from P4 all the way down to the end of the grid. And these two are just the same distance ahead. And we do have one car who's right at the back. That'll probably be Water Arrow, I suspect. Let's take a little look at who's where. It is Spark in P7 ahead of Glenn Mead. And no Nick Pautasso today in the Group A battle, unfortunately. He will be joining us in the commentary box for Division 2, or Group B, as we like to call it. Matthew Jointson has a little moment on exit, but regathers the car, and under pressure from Scott Taylor, who's not had necessarily the best start, but he's certainly making some progress. So it is actually Lyle Jensen Van Rensburg, I should say, jumping in the pro category for Mad Turtle Racing to replace Nick Pautasso in this. So no elite driver today for Mad Turtle Racing. Yeah, Water Arrow in the pits. He's going to repair that damage. May look at doing a refuel and jumping onto a fresh set of mediums. At this point, what do you have to lose? Luke Stone, right at the back of the field at the moment, finished the sprint race in 15th, so not gelling with this course at the moment. Through we go into turn 2. And there's the Porsche of Spark, and a nice move, it looks like, from Scott Taylor. It is. Typical down. Oh, that is a massive accident. Who is that? They are 90 degrees into the wall at the exit. That must be Dubzito. I think that must be Dubzito. No, it's not Dubzito. They must be right at the back of the field right now. What a bizarre incident. There was definitely a car. They must have reset. There was definitely a car 90 degrees. And do I have some sort of disillusion? There was definitely a car halfway into the barrier.
I'm not sure, mate. I didn't quite see what you were looking at. So I believe we're looking at the same feed. But I tell you what, George, did you see how much fuel that Jointson has on board? He's sitting there in P11, and he's been jumped by a couple of cars that he normally can stay with fairly competitively. I think Jointson might be going for a no-stopper.
Wow.
Jointson might be going for 25 laps out of a set of tyres and out of a tank of fuel here. So that'll be very interesting to see how he does with that choice of strategy. But there's definitely some short shifting going on there, and he's really lifting and coasting and taking it easy. And he might be... And there's someone else that's around there. Is that Scotty? Yes, it is. Scotty Taylor there, the last turn, the notorious turn there where you can really come unstuck if you don't get it perfectly right. And he's suffered there a little bit with losing quite a bit of time there, hasn't he, George?
Yeah, he certainly has. 3 or 4 positions, actually, by this point. He did make the move on Jointson, but yeah, so that is, I think, 2 positions... 3 positions lost for Scott Taylor. Yeah, that's really unlucky. This is the problem with that final turn. Jun Kao, turn 13, I believe it is. And yeah, you can put the power down pretty early through the corner. In fact, you really want to because it's the long back straight. But do that ever so slightly wrong, the car bounces and then it's all over. I can confirm that was Chris Fadipapa who has gone like literally 90 degrees directly into the barrier. And he is out. He is now officially a DNF for Lightning Motorsports, unfortunately. So that has not gone well for him. And by all means, it looks like Riley Nicholson for Hasel1 Motorsport is also out of this race. He has not come out of the pits as yet. So might have been a critical failure somewhere with him, or he realizes his race is over at this point and has decided not to continue. So unfortunate there to lose both of those drivers only on the 7th lap of this race, essentially. Bear in mind, Nat Donetti not here for CP Motorsport, so he's a DNS today. So that puts us down to 13 drivers on the field at the moment. The battle for the top rages on at this point. And what do you do if you're twitchy? You know that you've probably got the pace, but there's not a lot of places to overtake.
No, he's just sitting there being very, very patient. He's probably thinking, I might try and get him here with fuel and tyres, maybe jump him in the pit stop. But he's definitely being held up here as he might think about going for a move, but Gopi closes the door, forces him to the inside for turn 4, and Guy dives in there, has a go. Is he going to pull it off?
Wow.
Looks like he might have. And yeah, that was some tight racing, wasn't it, George? But I think Guy's pulled off a nice clean overtake there with a much better exit out of the center S's.
Yeah, he set it up all the way just before the pit lane exit, and he claimed the inside, as does Gopi Mahidajit. Yeah, claims that's a great place to overtake there. Very tricky. You've got to be so close as you head up the hill, but that's a great counter attack there from Gopi as Twitchy loses the rear of the car momentarily, coming towards 10. So awkward moments for both of these two, but great racing by them. And certainly, Gopi didn't want to give him any more than a millimeter to the grass as they came past that first straight.
Wow, I think he took him by surprise there, George. So not a normal overtaking spot there in the infield, and Gopi just decided to risk the biscuit, send it, and another clean overtake up the inside. So these guys are not only driving at World Tour pace, they're also driving, you know, at such a high skill level that they're able to do some door banging like that. So it makes for great viewing.
Certainly does. It's great to have these guys in here really leading the field in terms of the overall competition. Looks like Airborne has dropped back behind yourself, Ando, on track now, and he's under a little bit of pressure from his teammates. So Black Rose Racing 6th and 7th in this race right now. Will Spark be going for a maneuver? Let's have a little look at a turn one. Problem is, oh, he's actually clipped the grass and sent the car sideways, has Spark. It's an opportunity for Glenn Mead now if he can get a good exit through 2 and 3. And he will potentially have the run on these guys. Mercedes power versus the Porsches. Let's see what happens here. It is going to be a close one, but I don't think he's quite close enough there for an overtake.
No, he's going to have to fall in for turn 4 there. Although Airborne is struggling at the moment, he's getting a bit loose there on the exit of turn 4. Glenn Mead says, "Don't worry, mate, I've got that apex for you. I'll catch it." And he's right over all over the back of the Porsche now. Airborne struggling for some reason at the moment with those medium tyres. They do tend to go off slightly, the mediums, but then they come back at the end of their life. They start becoming good again. So Airborne might be just struggling with a little bit of over temp on his rear tyres, possibly.
Yeah, well, let's see. Certainly has lost a position so far. Great onboard shots as we fly through the infield section. Gives you an idea of what these drivers are having to deal with at a circuit like this. Really entertaining stuff. We're on lap 9 at the moment. A little bit off the pace is Glenn Mead. He's missed that opportunity, I think. A little bit of oversteer through turn 4. Sort of just put the car in an awkward situation. So couldn't follow through on the speed that he had. As we see Twitchy come into the pits on lap 9. And with 53 litres on fuel on board, so I'm not sure if there's any damage. No, there's not. This is part of his strategy. What is he thinking?
Now, I don't know here, George. This is really, really curious. He had no real reason to come in other than the fact he was being held up. So what tyre does he go for, and what strategy is he going to employ? Because I tell you what, there's quite a long time left in this race. He's got 16 laps still remaining, so I don't think he can elect for the soft tyre here. The pit stop here is upwards of 30 seconds, so surely he's on a one stop. He's just going for the undercut, I think.
Wow. Well, this is a bold strategy. He will obviously be very, very quick, realizing that Gopi Mihindjic was not necessarily holding him up, but certainly the fighting was losing him overall race time. So if he gets this clean air, he's going to be able to put in those 32s, those low 1-minute 32s, and really put the pressure on Gopi. And Gopi may be running for at least a couple more laps. So we'll see if this works out for him. Gopi's ultimate pace there, 32.4. So only separated by about 0.06 of a second in terms of their best laps at this track. So very, very even, but remembering that Twitchy has been behind Gopi, will he now respond in kind? No, he's going to stay out. He's working to his number. I would honestly be a bit worried if I was Gopi Mihindjic. I might have just come into the pits there.
Yeah, see, Guy's problem is that he's had to refuel, so he's now on a heavy fuel load again. Whereas Gopi is not really dropping off with his tyres yet, and he's running low fuel. So he's going to continue to set those low 32s, you know, towards his pit number, which I think is going to be around lap 12 or 13.
Well, yeah, so the undercut might not work out with the heavy fuel load. That's what we're thinking here in the commentary box. We'll see if it plays out for them. The continued battle here on your screens. Glenn Mead chasing down the 2 Black Rose Racing Porsches ahead of them. Ando just running to a number. So tell us your strategy. What have you been thinking here? You do this often, you know. It's you run to the number, run to the plan that you've executed. It's not necessarily maximum pace out there.
Yeah, the refuel rate here is not too slow, but it definitely is something. So refueling and fuel saving definitely can, in this mid-pack field where I'm sitting, it can allow you to jump some of your opponents in the pit stop. I was thinking one-stop mediums all the way this race, but I think I am rethinking that right now, thinking these mediums are really lasting well, and I'm thinking about going long now on this stint and switching to the softs to finish off.
Well, that's good work. Very, very well, in fact. Yeah, let's see what happens later on. At the moment, looking at Matthew Jointson coming through to turn 10. Moment there for Lyle van Rensburg. Great to see him back in the competition. He's been in a few series this year. And of course, a big fan is Nick Pautasso of the South African fella here on your screen, Jansen. And replacing him today on track for Mad Turtle Racing. Mad Turtle Racing have been doing very, very well in the standings. Of course, as we all know, this is one of the big things to note in the overall season. The most consistent point-scoring team so far has been Mad Turtle. They haven't got the best of results out there. That goes to Hooncorp Esports and technically Gridline Racing as well, although not quite as consistent across the board. So only Gopi really putting in those excellent results. But Hooncorp have certainly gotten the most high-level results out of the field. And they're only separated by about 30 or 40 points in the team's title. And really, at the moment, it's Mad Turtle versus Hooncorp. Here goes Glenn Mead. Is this opportunity? I think he's just playing the psychological game. He's not a man to send it without a cause, without a reason, without knowing that he can actually make the overtake. So he's just biding his time, doing what a good great white shark does, and just lurks in the water until he can guarantee the kill.
Yeah, he's probably doing a bit of fuel saving right now. His mediums are looking okay. Not great though, but now he goes for a move on the infield. Airborne wasn't quite aware he was there, tried to turn down on him, and they've come together slightly, but no harm, no foul, and race on. He didn't quite make that move work, did he, George?
No, not quite. Oh, there's another move, but that one's way more ambitious, and I think there was some contact there. Bit of a push to pass. Unusual to see that from Glenn Mee. I think he knows he's had the pace, but he just couldn't get the car slowed down and lucked up and drifted wide of the apex there. So not the cleanest move we've ever seen Glenn Mead do. I'm going to start quoting Finding Nemo very, very soon, I think. He does redress the position. He knows that he's not made a particularly clean overtake, and that is the sportsmanship that we like to see, and we know that Glenn Mead is always embodying that. And actually, unfortunate for him, he's actually going to see Airborne now jump into the pits. So it's a little bit cutting, but he did the right thing.
Yeah, he did, and good to see. And this is the crucial moment, folks. We're halfway through the race here. We'll see a couple of undercuts attempted here, in particular that one by Airborne now on his main rival, Glenn Mead. Those cars look very evenly matched, don't they? So this will really show us if that undercut is worthwhile doing or not, because track position, I think, for this last stint does mean a little bit. Overtaking's not that easy around here, even though we've got that nice long uphill straight to finish the lap on. It's not quite long enough to draw alongside the car in front when you've got a slipstream on them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And let's see, will it be this lap or the next one for Gopi Mahinajit? Nick Pfaff in second, Matt McCullum's holding onto that third position very nicely in the Ferrari. We'll see what happens to those two once we get through this pit cycle. But the real key here is Gopi Mahinajit going to pit this lap? It looks like he isn't, so he's staying out even longer. Now in the 33s, technically speaking. Yeah, 33.5. So he's really starting to drop off the pace now. The medium tire is not providing the pace that he had initially in this race. Guy Barber, in the meantime, also doing 33s, but did a fast lap after his out lap, and that was a 32.3. So he has been running pretty quick on field. This is going to come down to the wire between these two. I'm surprised to see Gopi stay out another lap, but at the end of lap 13 might be the play for him.
Yeah, he might be going for another lap or two, and then he'll jump onto the softs. Let's see. And Guy here, I think, has had clean air up until now, so he's been executing his undercut strategy nicely, I believe. And this traffic that he's coming up upon now might get in the way, but I think they'll also pit at the end of this lap and get out of his way. So this could come together once again, like we saw at Spa, right to the end of the race, George, and we'll have an exciting finish with two top-tier drivers on different strategies coming together.
This will be fantastic. Looking forward to it. Jointson on the attack now, trying to catch up to Jansen. Scott Taylor is the Gridline Racing car. Probably not the first car that Twitchy was really keen to approach. And we've got no stop still going for Jointson. So this is why we're seeing him here at the moment. He's on track. He's at half fuel. The medium tires are looking a little bit worse for wear on the right, but that's standard at a track like this. So will this actually work? Because he's going to have Scott Taylor coming through, and this is getting messy for Twitchy's plan.
It absolutely is. And Jointson there really suffering on his pace, but he's going to save a massive amount of time in the pits there. He's got half a tank of fuel left, so he's looking good fuel-wise. His tyres are going to let him down, I think, and
Oh,
Scotty runs wide there in the second to last corner. He's going to have dirty tyres. Twitch is going to just cruise past him here, I think, up the straight, and that releases Guy one more car down the road, but he can't be getting held up by any of these cars to any significant degree here. Otherwise, Gopi's going to walk away with this.
certainly is. We'll see what happens. At the moment, this traffic is causing a little bit of a headache for Twitchy. He had a moment at a turn 12 where he had a huge snap on the rear, but managed to collect the car. Look at the different angle the alien driver takes compared to the rest of the field. And poor Matthew Jointson's not going to have any chance of defending this at all. Might have got a little bit of a bump draft there momentarily from Guy, but he'll charge on through. Of course, as you can see, Joinson not wanting to spend too much fuel. He's running to a number today. I'll double check on exactly where he started in this race, but Joinson, I believe, started in... that is not the right result. Let me just check here very quickly. He started in 8th position, so yes, he's down at the moment. That's probably as a result of people overtaking him around and having done a pit stop as well. So let's just see what happens with Joinson. He could potentially get himself up ahead of 8th position where he started this race, but it's not set and done. Question still remains on lap 16. Will there be a pit stop at the end of this lap for Gautam Mahinajit? The clean air now is doing him so much favors. So many favors going his way.
Yeah, it really is. He's able to look after his tyres and his fuel state, and he's still logging some very, very impressive times there. He's dropped off. The tyres have dropped off. They're less than a second slower than his best, though. So, you know, he's really putting in some beautiful, clean laps here, which are going to serve him well. I think he's going to come in shortly and switch to the softs, George.
Here we go. Soft tyres, and then he'll have a massive advantage, of course, over Guy Barbara. Into the pits comes Michael Brill, Lyle Van Redsburg, and Scott Taylor on low fuel for Dibzito. Has been using a lot of fuel in that Nissan today for Lightning Motorsport. And Scott Taylor has been saving a fair bunch. So that's working to his advantage for sure, and it'll mean a slightly faster pit stop as well, which will be really, really handy. In the meantime, Ando, you're on our screens right now, setting 34s. So as we said before, not looking for the pace today, just looking for a consistent strategy. At this point, I'm assuming you're thinking now, okay, we're going to go to the softs.
Absolutely. I think I'm coming in at the end of this lap, and I've managed to get myself up the order a little bit. I've jumped a few cars around me, so I'm happy with that. And just to see there's the pace difference. So Gopi on worn mediums and low fuels doing 33s. Here I am in exactly the same position. I'm doing 34s. So I'm a second a lap down to these aliens, which is somewhat humbling.
Yeah, that's what the alien badge does. It humbles us. Here's the critical moment. Gautam Mahinajit on 19 litres of fuel, same as Nick Pfaff actually, so identical strategies between these two, and very similar for Matt McCullum as well. Into the pits now, and the critical moments will be basically illuminating themselves in a few moments' time. Guy Barbara in 7th at the moment. Where is he on track? That's going to be the real question. And what is the outlap going to be like for Gautam Mahinajit? He comes out of the pits, soft tyres as expected, and not even into the first corner yet for Guy Barbara. I think Gopi's done it with a decent distance. In fact, yeah, Guy Barbara will not even be in the slipstream. Pfaff also switches onto the softs. He'll be behind Guy Barbara, expected to see that. Here's Gopi out of the pits, and he's even ahead of Glenn Mead, who's also running very, very long in this first stint. I'm sure he'll be coming into the pits at some point soon. So there is a car between them. Gopi's on the softs, and I think that may be race.
Yeah, I think Guy might have had the Ferrari strategy team there advising him on what to do today. They definitely rolled the dice maybe, and just get a bit frustrated there maybe in the first stint being stuck behind Gopi, but he went for yet another somewhat creative strategy choice, and it hasn't worked out for him today.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, the critical moment was the counter-attack that Gopi had after Guy Barbara got past him. If he had stayed ahead of him, Guy Barbara would have put in a number of really, really good laps in the clean air, and then still would have had a good advantage going into the pit stop. So I think that was the key moment for Gopi. Just keeping Guy Barbara locked up behind him in second place has allowed him to run long and then to jump onto this faster tire and maintain the advantage.
Yeah, great move there by Gopi. That was such a good comeback move. A bit of a surprise move, if you ask me, but he kept it clean, and it's so hard, viewers, to make these moves at such a rapid pace that both cars are doing and still stay out of the steward's room, because that was a clean as you like it overtake there, or two overtakes. The one by Guy was definitely clean and really entertaining to watch. But Gopi's comeback move there, yeah, I agree with you, George, might be the crucial move of the round.
Indeed, yeah, very, very exciting stuff. Love to see it. Here's Faf getting on past Matthew Joinson. Excuse me. My voice is unfortunately deteriorating a little bit at the end of this race. Medium tire still for Joinson. Of course, Faf goes on past, picks up third position again. Next coming through will be Matt McCullum. He's a fair way back on the track at the moment, so let's see if he's able to do anything. Now, really, it's a battle between yourself and Matt McCullum. You're both on the soft tires, as I understand it, so who's going to have the pace here? At this point, it's full send, right?
Yeah, pretty much at the end of the race here, full send. So this is a battle royale about to ensue. And we've both got a little bit of a cork in the bottle ahead of us in Joinson, who's on the no-stopper. So we're going to reel him in at some point, and then it's going to become a three-way battle. So this could get entertaining.
Very good. I love to see it. And yeah, Joinson's strategy here is pretty strong. I'm just looking, trying to find out how far back Airborne and Spark are. Not too far back, as I understand it. So I get the feeling there's an opportunity here for Joinson to maybe pick up 6th position in this race. We'll see. Yeah, just coming through turn 12 now is Airborne. So he's not too far behind you guys on the soft tire. The question is he's on the medium tire again. So he's not going to have as much pace as you guys on the softs. Joinson might be able to match him on this.
Yeah, so if Joinson can get a P6 or P7 even out of this race, I guess that'll be mission accomplished for him. So he's had a fairly leisurely Sunday drive, hasn't he, on that no-stopping strategy. So you're not really pushing the car, but he's just, yeah, he'll say, "Come catch me, boys," to the cars behind him right now. He's got track position, and sure, he'll probably lose a couple of spots to myself and McCallum. But then, yeah, Airborne might struggle to get past Joinson, who's going to make that RCZ as wide as possible, isn't he?
He certainly is, yeah. It's not the widest car on the grid, let's be honest. It's petite. Probably not. It's probably just how the sun reflects off it, let's be honest. But
No, they're a
definitely not as
lovely car.
wide.
My hairdresser loves hers.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's fair enough then. Yeah, I mean, if you, I suppose that's the whole. If you buy the car that you like, and if it's objectively crap, just don't care. Just own it.
And who cares if
Fastest.
it's owned by hairdressers and makeup artists alike?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 1:31.4. Now the fastest lap. Look at Gopi go.
Yeah, there's a real man's car and a man's lap right there, viewers. Godzilla is on fire here at Interlagos today. A 1:31.4, just showing what the softs are capable of, and he's walking the field here today. That is for sure.
Yeah, he is indeed. So let's keep an eye on another fastest sector there for Gopi with 6 laps remaining in this race. At the moment, Guy Barbara not going to be able to equal that on the tires that he's... well, let's just switch back to Guy Barbara for a moment. Let's have a little look at the lap times that we've got going here. Yeah, 32.8. He's on the mediums. He's not going to be catching up, let's put it that way. And Gopi has got so much life in the soft tires in this one that I don't think there's going to be an option for Guy Barbara to really make up any position. This will still be a decent haul of points for him in second, but overall, not going to work out. There's Airborne, and we're just having a little look at the gap between him and Ando, and at the moment, yeah, no real change. So I don't think Airborne's going to have the pace to catch up to these two. You have fallen slightly off the back of Matt McCullum. That little Ferrari is absolutely going for it at the moment, trying to escape the clutches of the BMW behind him.
Yeah, this might come down to tyre wear, and I'm just going to sit there. I'm trying to milk a mistake out of Matt, but yeah, unable to put much pressure on him. So he's driving well at this stage, and should be able to hold on to that position ahead of me.
Excellent, exciting. Here we go. 6 laps to go, and we're going to get a nice rear onboard camera of Matthew Joinson as these two barrel up behind him rapidly. and making some serious progress. That's what soft tires will do. They'll take you from way back to way forward in a very short amount of time. The racing medium tires are looking worse for wear, and every single left-hand corner right now is going to be pain for Joinson at this stage. But I have to admit, still done well. This, I think, at the moment, is looking like he's bagging himself a couple of positions based on doing this essentially no-stop strategy.
Yeah, a real thinking man's race from Matt today, and he is what looks to be 3.5 seconds a lap down on the two cars behind him. So he's not going to be able to hold them off with still 5 laps to go in this race. But then if he sits there in P6 and collects P6 for a leisurely Sunday drive like he's had, he's going to be a very happy camper indeed.
Well, indeed. So this is Matt McCullum getting ever closer. And let's see if he's going to be able to make an attempt. It's going to be a surprise move. We saw Gopi do it here. And you can see the grip advantage from Matt McCullum. Goes hard onto the steering wheel. A little bit of contact maybe there between the two. Matt McCullum's going to have to be careful here because he will let you through if he gets out of shape in this battle.
And that BMW's joined the party. It's almost like he hang back there and knew that the Ferrari was going to get held up by Johnson anyway, wasn't it, George?
Yeah, exactly. And this is working to your advantage right now. If Matt McCullum can't get past Johnson cleanly, although I think this is where it's going to happen. Yeah, it is. Look at the run. So much easier to get a good run. But actually, he doesn't find the outside line there. Ando, this is advantage you right now. Yeah, this could be a double overtake.
The Ferrari just bump drafted the RCZ instead of pulling out and going round him. And as they come side by side, three-way into turn 1 here, Ando up the inside. Look out.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's 2 for 1. Get the special while it's in store, ladies and gentlemen. And the RCZ's actually going to get nearly back past Matt McCullum. Yeah, he absolutely, unfortunately, Matt McCullum, he's a great driver, but he's made a bit of a mincing of that one.
Yeah, he just got too close to the RCZ for that final turn, and he just ruined his run up the straight. Whereas the wily bloke in the BMW was at that perfect distance behind in order to nail that last corner and get the run on them both.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And that's great little a points haul that you'll be picking up there. Really nice to see the side-by-side 3 wide. That's a Schumacher-Heikkinen move if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, that one was, I must admit, lined up from a few corners before there. So I planned that one out, and I'm just sitting there saying I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's come together beautifully for you today. Nick Pfaff just making his way around. He's in the doldrums at the moment. No, we're not racing with anyone, so a quiet race, but one that'll pick him up plenty of points for Aster Racing in the RCZ today, the number 92 car. And yeah, it's a tricky situation for me for Nick Pfaff. He's faster than most of the field, but he's not, unfortunately, really in that alien category that we've got racing ahead of him today. We know he's got a lot of pace. He's a fantastic driver, but it's a tricky thing when you're racing completely alone out there. The softs were the choice for him, of course, onto his second stint. Ahead of him, of course, Barbara not going to catch up Gopi. So I'd say at this point, the top 3 all set and done. And the only risk is, Ando, are you going to put into the wall? Please tell me you're not going to put into the wall.
Oh, you never know. I've been known to clutch defeat from the jaws of victory before, George, but I think my tyres might be looking a little bit better than McCallum's. Oh, I might have a little bit of fuel to spend here as well between now and the end of the race. So I'm going to be looking to just gap him now and get out of his slip and not give him any free rides and try to hold on to that P4. But I tell you what, George, great drive from Pfaff today. He's, as you said, having a lonely drive. He's been gapped by the 2 cars in front of him quite significantly, but he's also gapped the rest of us. So best of the rest to him today, and he'll be quite chuffed with that podium position.
Certainly will be. We just seen the overtake. Glenn Mead manages to get up ahead of Campbell Knowles, puts the Mad Turtle Racing guys in a spot to pick up even more points today. And it was a nice little maneuver into turn 4, so much cleaner than he had done laps previous. Did redress the position when he made the mistake. Black Hose Racing and Campbell Knowles wants to attack back on the Shark, see if they can take a bite out of the Shark instead of him taking a bite out of their car, which has just happened. But at the moment, Glenn Mead driving beautifully, and that'll be a nice P7 picked out by him. Neither of these cars will catch up to the now P6 Matthew Joinson as we barrel towards The last 2 laps of this race, let's take a look down the rest of the field. Luke Stone, surprise P10 for him today. He's obviously not feeling it here at Interlagos. Then Michael Brill, Scott Taylor hasn't made any progress, and Lyle van Rensburg just getting familiar, debuting here at the GT3 Champs, replacing Nick Pautassa today, but sticking solidly in pro category for this race. Just not really able to get up to speed. It's not easy to do, you know, especially at a track like this.
Yeah, I think all these cars we're looking at now towards the back of the field have all had a little whoopsie, at least one today, which ends up being quite costly, unfortunately. So the mid-pack, those had a good battle, and look at Glenn and the Airborne there, George. They've been at each other the whole race, haven't they? But the Turtle Mercedes is just prevailing at the moment. Let's see if he can keep it that way, but also let's see if they can catch Joynson too. Because Joynson must be leaking oil. He must be doing 36s by now, and they might have half a chance of catching him.
Yeah, I'm surprised they were able to battle at all. One's airborne and the other one's swimming in the water, but somehow they managed to come together just where the water starts, and they're battling. Stork versus fish is what's going on right now. And Gautam Mahinajit onto the final lap of this race. Look at the lead he's got. It is absolutely massive. The strategy's worked out beautifully. Key overtake, or counter-attack, we should say, to get himself back into P1 after Twitchy made the attack into turn 4 and got himself past, which was a daring move there from Twitchy, and what we've come to expect, of course, from his caliber of driver. Gautam Mahinajit was smart, though, and sent a surprise move into this corner all those laps ago, and then stayed out much longer than we were thinking. Faf was on the same strategy. Mediums all the way to lap 17, jump out on the softs and do the end stint on the softs. You can see he's just going to make that work. The tires are screaming, the fuel tank's empty, but it has been a dominant drive here from Gautam Mahinajit, especially in the second half of the race. The 31.355 unchallenged as the fastest lap of the race. No one else will get anywhere close to that today. He's out there doing a mini qualifying after winning the sprint round earlier on that set the grid for today's feature race. 25 laps done. Last couple of corners for the number 2 car, and Gautam Mahinajit is bringing this fight back to Twitchy at tracks that the GTR is dominant at, and he's done that today, done it beautifully. And Gridline Racing and Gautam Mahinajit pick up the elite category win. A flash of the lights across the line as he takes the checkered flag. Guy Barbara will be coming home in a not-so-close P2. Low on fuel, racing mediums, and then Nick Pfaff will be behind him by some distance as well. Little note of frustration there maybe for Guy Barbara. Didn't quite get the strategy working his direction today. Pfaff picks up a very good P3, and then it'll be yourself, Ando. The 2-for-1 move. Great to get a deal, isn't it?
It was. It was a bit of a Moses Red Sea moment there for me, but I'm very happy with that P4 and kept McCallum at bay. He comes home P5. It just goes to show you how important strategy is, George, doesn't it? You know, even though you're a World Tour level driver, or those 2 drivers, Gopi and Guy, you know, lightning fast, if you choose the wrong strategy, it's like you're racing with one hand tied behind your back, unfortunately, and he pretty much gifted that win to Gopi today.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Interlagos is a place where so many different strategies can work. It just, you have to put in the time to do the thinking. Not to say that Guy Barbara didn't, but he unfortunately didn't get it right today. Let's jump back and we'll have a look at our full race results. Okay, here we are back in the chatting screen, and a great feature race there by the guys in Group A. Gautam Mahinajit, 35 points for him for P1. Guy Barbara and P2. Nick Pfaff pick up 3rd position. Then Andrew Scott, Campbell Knowles, Lyle Rensburg, and Matt Denetti. I think actually in my screens, Lyle was considered a pro driver, but he is being scored as an elite in here. So that is the results for elite category there. Ando, standout performances here. Do I need to say more?
Look, I think I'm going to have to give it to Gopi today. He's led from pillar to post, and definitely sexiest move of the day goes to Gopi too for that comeback overtake surprise move.
Yeah, it was very, very nice indeed, and I think that's a very, very valid call there. I think I'm honestly going to have to give it the same. It was a good call, a good drive overall. Let's take a look at the pro category standings. And it is Matt McCullum for CP Motorsports, 37 points for him. Matthew Joynson for Aster Racing on 32. So Matt McCullum with a great result all the way through today. He has really been super dominant in pro category throughout the day. So a great race from him. Matthew Deutson on the one-stopper picks up second in Pro, 6th overall. Glenn Mead behind him in 3rd place continues his drive towards taking the Pro standings. Overall, Nick Roberts for Black Rose Racing, 26 points. Luke Stone behind them, a little bit of a surprise there. And then, of course, Michael Brill, Scott Taylor, and Riley Nicholson, unfortunately, DNF today. We did see a DNF as well from Chris Faripapa for Lightning Motorsport. He doesn't show up on here because we do have only 8 on the grid, 9 pros, technically speaking. So the person in absolute last does not show up on our screens. Let's talk driver of the day here. Is another obvious one, Ando, I think.
Yeah, Matt McCallum, great effort there. He beat a couple of elite, so there's some bonus points for him, I believe. And a P5 overall, definitely a great result for a pro driver. But I'm going to give mine, as I always will, to the guy with the smarts. And Matt Johnson there trying to pull off a no-stopper and somewhat pulling it off is my driver of the day for sure.
Indeed, and I agree. Yeah, Matt McCullum, great race. He's gone from pole position through the sprint race, won that in the pro category, and then got on to do the exact same thing, actually qualifying ahead of and winning in the sprint race ahead of a number of elite category drivers. Absolutely fantastic. Great race from Group A, and that does set the scene for what's coming in the next 4 races for Group A. Going to be a good one. We are going to be back after a 5-minute break, so we will see you in a few minutes' time. Hello and welcome back to the MotorMotion E-Series Player1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship. And of course, we return for Group B coverage. The feature race will be 25 laps long, as we've mentioned before, and round 6 continues in Group B, which has always been a place of excitement. We never know really what we're going to see out there today. We never really know what we're going to see in Group A until everyone ends up on the same strategy. That wasn't the case today in Group A. Lots of different strategies out there on the field, but only a couple working. Will Group B end up doing the same? We shall see. Results for them coming through. So sprint race results, Joe Rudinsky managed to clinch the pole on there, followed by Mark Pacheco, Marcel Albertin, Mark Hasel1, Hayden Jones, Jack Finch, who's the leader of the AM class there, followed closely by Mark Hogan, Richard Robinson, and then Brian Emmett jumping in for Mad Turtle Racing. And a man who's well familiar, I think, with all the replacements that have happened this week for Mad Turtle Racing, will be joining me in the commentary box. I'll lead you through, George Cook, and of course it's Nick Pautasso. Welcome into the commentary box, mate.
Yes, g'day George, g'day viewers. It has been a while since I've been back in the TrackSpot TV comms booth for this series, so I'm very excited to be back. But yeah, the Mad Turtle camp has been all over the shop with myself being absent, so I send a big praise and thanks to Lyle Rensberg for filling in and doing a great job there, getting in some nice points for the team. And then Brian Emmett for Bob Massey in the AM class. From what I've heard, from his side of the garage, that he's got some really good pace in the AM class, and he'll be one to watch in this race here at Interlagos.
Certainly, yeah. Mad Turtle been doing very well in Group B, of course. That's where a lot of the consistency has come through from as well. I mean, the whole Group A, Group B for Mad Turtle has been very good. That's why they're the team standings leaders at the moment. All right. By the sounds of it, we are lining up on the grid. We're ready to go. So let's get out there and get racing. Right, here we go. And off the line, of course, Joe Rudinsky will lead us through. Special colors on that live race. Race will begin now. There we go. Green flag is waving. We are racing. Mark Pacheco going to be hopefully looking for an early move on Joe Rudinsky. Not going to be the case today, as he does look for that immediate move early on. Lots of side-by-side as we head through turns 2 and 3. There is Robinson making his way on through. He needs to make early positions as fast as possible, cutting through the RCZs early on in this race. Nice move by him. As we see another Hoon Corp Esports car run very deep into turn 3 towards the top of the grid. Calculated Risk has made a good maneuver early on, an attempted maneuver, I should say, as we see Richard Robinson again try and make his way through the next RCZ on his list, and he's done so immediately. We'll have to double check his tires, see what he's actually on. There's a real collection of cars at the back here, all fighting for it. Troy Britnell's in the battle as well, trying to maintain positions. Blue Dog right at the back, trying to hold on to any sort of grip at the moment. Needs to make his way through from P13 up the grid. We're on board with Troy Britnell as we watch the fracas happening in front of us. Great racing already on lap 1.
Oh, this is what we love about Group B, the chaos that goes into that first lap, George. The absolute side-by-side that we saw all these cars go through Ferradura and all the way up through to the infield section, and no scratches and no bumping, just some hard, clean racing there. We see Graham Splint down the back of the pack, but it is Joe Rudinsky up front. Mark Pacheco making his return to the championship up into position 2, replacing Mitch Collin for Lightning Motorsports. It's great to see him back in the field. Last time we saw him was in the TCR campaign with Gridline Racing, so it's good to see him back. And then we have Marcel Albertin rounding up the podium. Mark Hasel1, the winner of the Spa round last time out, is down in P4, and then Hayden Jones for CP Motorsports in P5. So Joe Rudinsky doing a really good job just where he left off back at Spa. Unfortunately, on his race, he had a bit of an unfortunate disconnect at around lap 7, which saw him demoted down to last place. Had a strong performance there at Spa, but unfortunately the DC hampered his progression. But hopefully in this case his stability with his connection becomes decent enough to be able to hold on. But doing a good job up into P1 as the field's coming through towards the Descala del Sol del Lago at turns 4 and 5. Really 13 drivers here tonight, so we are missing a few. We are missing Jeff Brun, so one of the second of the Gridline Racing cars. Mitch Collin also missing out, obviously with Mark Pacheco filling in the void, and Ben Blaker for Hasel1 Motorsport. So there's a couple of cars running the sole man team, and when it comes to being that sole driver, George, it is a lot of pressure on that camp as well, just to deliver the maximum points that they can muster up in this 25-lap race.
Yeah, Soul, both spelled S-O-L-E and S-O-U-L. They embody the soul of the team at that point. Little moment for Jack Finch at the end of the lap there. Junkao, so tricky to get right, but once you get it right, you can really launch yourself through, and it's going to be Aussie GTR making a potential move into turn 1 on Mark Hasel1, who will not be happy to see cars ahead of him. All cars behind him, actually, I think he's pretty stoked. He loves to have good racing with the guys out here. Takes the defensive line as we see, oh my goodness, Jack Finch has absolutely sent it into turn 1 from about 15 miles back on track. Kind of bullies his way on through and pushes Hasel1 forward, way past the apex. That's interesting strategy call there by Jack Finch, who unfortunately has had that been done to him in a number of races.
Oh, another move.
Seems to be going for tit for tat. Here we go again, turn 4.
This also the reason why here he's on the racing soft, so he's actually able to get a much better braking performance in the Supra compared to the Ferrari and the BMW ahead. But still, what a send that was from Jack Finch, the leader of the AM class at the moment, sitting 5th overall, but leading the AM class division. But what a strong move there, using the rear bumper of the Hasel1 Motorsport BMW just to stop his car. Like, I feel like if there was a car ahead of him, he would have gone off at the center S's pretty easy. But you could just see there, a bit of a net code connection between Mark Hasel1 and Jack Finch, but he is so close. Is Jack Finch just trying to get it to the rear bumper of Mark Hasel1 and see how he goes now, going onto the back straight. See what he does here. The straight line advantage of the Supra will be a lot stronger than the BMW, but see what he does. You can see here what we're looking at, George. 3/10, 4/10. What does he move? What does he plan to do? Can't determine. Will he send it?
Well, he was about a second back when he sent it last time, so I don't think 0.3 is going to stop him. He's going to send it from the moon. This time a little bit more conservative. He's going to try and hook it around the outside, and actually nearly gets run into by Aussie GTR. A very good broadcaster here has invoked the spirit of a particular game and a particular moment in that game's history. The old Leroy Jenkins. It's completely appropriate in this situation. He sent it from the moon. What a moment there. Fortunately for Mark Hasel1, he's able to hold on to it, which is a little bit of a surprise given how quick Jack Finch is going to be on these soft tyres at this stage of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we saw in Lobby A, in Group A rather, the soft tyre was the preferred tyre at the end of the race. So Jack Finch down the order. It is a gamble, but he looks like he has to put on the racing mediums as it is the required tyre for this event here at Interlagos. So it'll be interesting to note when he actually comes into the pit, whether he'll do half the race on the set of softs and then go to the end of mediums, or will we be able to just nurture them a little bit, maybe tone down the aggressiveness a little bit, maybe save tyres, save a bit of fuel to do less laps on the mediums?
I feel like he's setting himself up to get bullied back at the end of this race, where he'll have to be on the medium tyres. You may have a few soft runners just going, hey, do you remember what happened on lap 4, Jack? Well, here you go. In the meantime, Pacheco making a move potentially on Joe Rudinsky. Joe Rudinsky's such a strong competitor here, so to have Mark Pacheco challenging at the moment, sends it up the inside. Great maneuver, but the Mercedes driver is smart, holds it around the outside, will cut in across the curb of turn 2. Will it compromise him to turn 4, though, is the question. And looks like Mark Pacheco's held onto that beautifully. And don't forget, Marcel Albertin's right there.
Yeah, the Porsche is lurking in the background there. Mark Pacheco just throws the car onto the left-hand side, goes for the inside move, down on the inside, but Joe outstanding on the brakes, so that's twice in a row from Joe Rudinsky to outbrake the Honda NSX and keep and maintain track position ahead of the substitute driver and Mark Pacheco. Mark Pacheco has been on flying form ever since his TCR campaign at Gridline Racing. He's just been able to translate that into the GT3 championship, and look where he is right now in the middle of P2 as a substitute driver for Mitch Collin, doing a fantastic job. But Marcel Albertin, 1, 2, and 3 within a sheet of paper next to each other. They are so close. I'm looking at about 5/10, and then don't flinch your eyes off from Jack Finch in P4 on that soft tyre.
Oh yeah, if you're Jack Finch, do you really want to involve yourself in a three-way battle up ahead between the Pro-Am drivers? As the M-Class leader right now, he's in a great spot, just needs to maintain this position, but he has to use these soft tires to maximum effect. So if it means passing the cars ahead, that's what he's got to do. The top three all on the mediums at the beginning of this race, which is what we saw the Group A guys mostly favor in terms of this. But Jack Finch has used this soft tire to launch himself up. Here goes the battle once again. Pacheco dives to the inside line, but it's covered off beautifully by Joe Rudinsky. And once again, there'll be single file, a big cut of the corner from Marcel Albertin as he tries to bring himself into this. Hopefully he hasn't picked up a penalty for that. We will double check, but I think he's probably pretty safe. Getting a little look down the field. Chip Berry has picked up a penalty. Troy Brittenell up to 10th position now. Hogan in 11th, Blue Dog, and then in last place it is Richard Robinson, who may have come into the pits. No, I don't think he has. He must have had some sort of issue, although yeah, back on lap 3 is what we're being told.
One of his laps looked like it was a 1 minute 37 from what I saw, so maybe just picked up a penalty and had to serve it on the penalty burn zone. So unfortunate for him, down in last place. But you can see here with the Group B, fellas, compared to Group A, obviously we saw both Guy Barbara and Gopi Mihidjic just school the elite and pro class on how racing is done as in the alien category. But you can see here with the pro am and am class, these guys are relatively close to each other, all within the same sector of each other. There's not really much spreading around. They're all doing their own strategies. Most of them are on racing mediums, a couple handful are on racing softs, but they're all relatively close to each other. So one slip of a tire onto the grass, one mistake that you put yourself in the danger of being down the order, and especially down on last place with where Richard Robson is. Obviously, with his lap with a 1 minute 37, everyone's setting 1 minute 34s, 33s as the fastest set by Jack Finch down in P4 on the racing soft tires. But one mistake, and it could cost you dearly.
Yep, it certainly can. I mean, luckily the field is bunched up enough that as long as you can get the car going again, you will be in a situation to catch back up to the pack. There's a little look. Mark Pacheco applying the psychological pressure and going purple in Sector 1 again. So he is fast in this NSX at the moment. And it is good to see the Lightning Motorsport guys right at the top of the field here. It's not an easy car to get yourself familiar with, the NSX, but some do have it mastered. And it looks like it's right up Mark Pacheco's alley. And got a lot of pace here at Interlagos as well. And tighter lines he's taking, you see the difference. The Mercedes having to really open up the corners, swing it in, then use its superior V8 to really put the power down. Whereas Pacheco in this sort of slightly lighter, more agile mobile is able to kind of cut into those corners, take some really nice lines through there. So this may also come down to who's saving more tires here. Joe Rudinsky has been known to do some pretty interesting work with the strategy just to make sure he's got the tires to last all the way through. But the real question is going to be, do we have anyone doing the no-stop? And do we have a soft stint at the end for these two guys? Or are they going to be doing a medium stint once we get to half-race distance in about 5 laps' time?
Well, from what I've known with the Honda NSX and looking at the Lightning Motorsport drivers with both Chris Farrapup and Michael Rule, they have actually mentioned that the Honda was actually a really nice car to drive around Interlagos. So it seems to be up there. I feel like it seems to be quite an even playing ground with all the manufacturers we have here, with Joe Rudinsky in the Mercedes AMG, Mark Pacheco in the Honda NSX, and then we have Marcel Albertin in the Porsche, a couple of the RCZ drivers as well, GTRs, Supras. I'm trying to think of another one that's on the top of my head, but I'll figure it out once I see the cars on the grid. But there seems to be quite a handful of cars that seem to be very well matched around here. Like, there's not a lot of discrepancy in the balance of performance here. Obviously, Interlagos suits is kind of like a playing ground where GT7 actually do a lot of their BOP testing here, Suzuka, and especially around the Nürburgring as well. So there's three layouts and three types of tracks that they go to test the BOP, and this is one of them. So you can see that with all of these cars, all these manufacturers, they seem to be so level on the playing field, just depending who's driving the car. But with the Group B and Group B drivers in Pro Am being relatively close on pace, they're doing a fantastic job to really uphold the BOP performance with each of these manufacturers, just to be able to stay on the track and just to stay within touching distance of each other.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And it just shows how balanced the Group B field has been. And certainly the car is not looking too too much of a no car really with too much of an advantage at the moment, which is great to see. We're on board now with Mark Hasel1. Makes his way through turn 1 using plenty of curb to try and open up turn 2. Does so nicely, and he'll have an advantage now. Looks like Jack Finch's tires are maybe starting to run out. We did only see the guys in Group A use the racing softs for about 8 laps or so. So he may be needing to come in at the end of this one and then jump onto that medium tire and get to the end of the race.
Well, 34 flat was Mark Hasselden's lap on the last lap, so he's only, what, 6/10 away from Jack Finch, and then we got a 34.8, so 8/10 gained for Mark Hasselden on Jack Finch. So that's an absolutely incredible performance there, and you can see that tire is gone on the front right. So that is absolutely nowhere. So the car is going to be really struggling through this infield section here, and especially the double left-hander coming onto the back straight. So he's going to struggle really, really hard to maintain track position. I don't see him going in, and that's going to allow Mark Hasselden the opportunity to go around the outside. Oh, just thought about it there, but he just almost got the move done. But this is the section that he's going to struggle the most. And the Supra is going to get away with the straight line speed, but I feel like he has to come in this lap. He can't do another one.
Oh, it looks like he might be thinking about it, though. We'll have a little look. You know when an Australian, of course he comes in. You know when an Australian replaces the N-E in gone with an R and an N, and it's gone. You know that things are really gone at that point. The tyres are completely useless at that point for Jack Finster, confirmed by the pronunciation of the word "gone" from Nick Baldazzo. I'm gonna get called out on that at some point. Either way, but you know that they're gone. They're certainly gone, and Jack Finch will replace those with the medium tyre, which is mandatory today. In the meantime, the battle still on the mediums continues for P1 and P2. And Mark Pacheco, I've just been called out by our broadcaster. Yeah, not surprised. Mark Pacheco is still fighting back as much as possible. Still got 50 litres of fuel on board. So I wonder if he's been trying to fuel save a little bit here as well. Yeah, I don't imagine there's any real need to at this stage of the race.
Nah, he hasn't saved any fuel. He's got half a tank left, so he could definitely get to lap 20. The tires are actually holding on a lot better than I expected on the Honda NSX, but that's been up and down the field with the racing mediums. So just the way they've been able to hold on to the tires, especially in the Group A, Lobby A coverage, it was actually incredible to see how long those mediums were going. The optimum strategy was the half race distance of 13 mediums and 12 mediums at the end. But obviously drivers are really astounded by how long these tires last, that they can just even think about putting on a racing softs and see what Mark Pacheco does. Fastest lap there on a racing mediums. Will he throw it down the inside of Expat, and finally at the start of lap 11 gets the position over Expat, takes the lead on lap 11 of 25. That is Mark Pacheco, Lightning Motorsport, leading the way ahead of Joe Rudinsky in P2. Obviously Joe doing the same thing as well, saving tires, saving a bit of fuel, as well as Mark Pacheco, but that is just down on outright pace, and Mark Pacheco takes the lead in this Group B lobby.
Great move there by Pacheco. He's done incredibly well to get on through Joe Rudinsky, who is a tough contender to get past. He's won so many of the races this season so far, and his campaign here has really set Mad Turtle up for some really good results. And Jack Finch's early performances as well have actually set Hooncorp up as well. Both teams so consistent. That's why they're so close on the team standings. And these consistent results need to still keep filtering in. Luckily, though, and Nick, you probably agree with me on this one, since there is only a 2-point difference between each of the positions, as long as you're in that top 3, you're not really losing a lot to competitors in the overalls, whether it's driver standings or team standings.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously with the 3 drivers scoring, 3 out of your 4 drivers scoring the majority of the points, you just have to look up and down the field to see where they finish. And then, yeah, the deficit could only just be a handful of points. It could be 10 plus points, depending on how bad your race could be. But as you said, the leading contenders, Mad Turtle Racing in my camp, as well as the Hooncorp Esports with Guy Barbara, and then also you have Luke Stone, Jack Finch, and Blake Williams. But unfortunately, what we're seeing down here with Blake Williamson down in P7, he hasn't really been putting any standout performance drives so far. He's down in P7 behind one of the reserve drivers in Brian Emmett in the Mad Turtle Racing AM class, but Blake Williamson hasn't been up there. He's obviously looks like Jack Finch has got a better performance than the man in his fellow teammate rather in Blake Williamson in P7. So he might be just struggling a little bit with overall pace, and we saw this with Luke Stone as well in Lobby A. Like, he did not have the pace. We saw in the sprint race finished dead last, and then as soon as he got to the feature race, only finished 10th. So maybe some of the drivers have been putting on their practice shoes on, and they've been putting on their being able to get the lap times and practice this circuit. But at the same time, they've been really struggling with that second driver not performing as well as they hoped.
That's right, yeah, and that's just comes down to the overall consistency across all the team members within the team. Very important to try and find drivers that can have those consistent results in all 4 categories, but not easy to do. Any team owner will tell you that finding 4 drivers that can have that level of consistency is really, really difficult. So far, Hooncorp and Mad Turtle have seemed to have done that the best in terms of their recruitments and replacements throughout the season thus far. I get the feeling these guys are both going on to lap 16 or 17, but someone who's not is going to be Mark Hasel1, halving this race. We saw that strategy did not work out for Guy Barbara. So this could potentially put Hasel1 out of the running for a top 3 or even to lose his position in P4.
Yeah, and to think of it as well, Guy Barbara actually pitted earlier than that. I think he pitted at the end of lap 10, or at the commencing of lap 10. So yeah, I think he's doing what Jack Finch did, where Jack Finch actually pitted on lap 9, but he was on the racing softs. Now he's gone to racing mediums, and he's going to finish the stint on those set of medium tires. But I just don't know. Maybe there's might be not a lot of communication up and down the field there within the teams, where maybe the drivers aren't communicating within each other to say, look, you know, these tires are holding on better than expected. Why don't we just run these compounds a lot more and then throw on the soft tires? But at the same time, you go with the game plan. You go with the game plan that you've done through all of your practice sessions throughout the sprint race, thinking, maybe the sprint race, the tires weren't holding on as much, so that's why we're going to do a half stint. But everyone, with this cloudy conditions here and the track being so grippy, you know, there's not a lot of slip and wear through the tires. That there's so much grip on this AstroTurf that the cars are actually able to hold on to this compound of tires. And I won't be surprised if the drivers like Mark Pacheco and Joe Rudinsky, they won't go to the end of the race on this set of tires, but I would expect one of them to do an undercut and throw on a racing softs just to try and jump them in the pit lane, because it's very, very how can I say it? It's like the racing mediums seem to be the favourable tyre, but the softs, as we saw in Lobby A, it's an underdog tyre compound that people are just avoiding at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. Well, there's the opportunity, of course, to stay out there and 8 laps on a soft tyre until it becomes absolutely useless, or gone, as we've now coined the phrase. When it's gone, it's gone, you know. So that's sort of 6 laps in. So you're really chewing up the tyres at a circuit like this, and that's the risk you take with a soft tyre, which is why we're seeing guys like Pacheco, guys like Expat trying to extend the stints, and also why Jack Finch really couldn't make it much more than lap 9 before he needed to come into the pits. And he's just got to maintain the pace all the way through to the end of the race. 1:35.7 his last lap. So it's not setting the timing boards alight, but it's consistent at the moment. You can see where he is technically on track, pushing Mark Hasel1 along. These guys were technically 4th and 5th in the race, and battling before we saw the initial pit stops.
Yeah, and it's just back to square one. So Mark Hasselden's ahead of Jack Finch. Obviously, he did a few more laps on that racing medium. So the worn mediums actually tend to be a lot better than a fresh set of mediums. So he actually did the overcut on Jack Finch. So he's now ahead of the Hooncorp driver, the 16 of the Hasel1 Motorsport, the team owner of the Hasel1 Motorsport camp, ahead of Jack Finch. But yeah, it just shows that a worn racing medium tire is a much better strategy than running on a fresh mediums, because the overcut seems to be quite strong around here. But that's why I'm thinking that with these top 3, top 4 drivers, will they throw on a racing soft tire as early as this lap potentially? You know, you're coming at the end of this lap, you're going to have 10 racing laps to go until the end of it. So I would say, you know, there is a gamble to play. You best put your cards in right now.
Yeah, that's right. Get in before the punters close the shutters and say no more bets allowed. I get the feeling they're going to try and stick it out for at least another couple of laps. That's my sense. And then, I mean, the longer that you can extend it, the medium tyres at the moment and the amount of fuel they've got on board, they could run to lap 22, 23 quite easily. They're not going to do that because they'll know it'll be quicker to jump onto a fresh set of tyres. But at the moment, not really facing any constraints. Joe Rudinsky is saving a little bit more fuel than Mark Pacheco at the moment, so he may have a pit stop advantage as long as he can stay within a couple of seconds of Mark Pacheco. And assuming that they end up on the same pit stop or thereabouts, it could well be that Joe Rudinsky finds himself in the second stint, potentially on the faster tyre, out ahead of Pacheco. Will it be this lap for either of them? It's this lap for both of them. Okay, there we go. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, if they are going soft tyre, it's a pretty long soft stint. If they go both going mediums, then great. If one's going soft, one's going to mediums, we're on.
Oh yeah, this is going to be exciting, and that's there. And then they just must have heard my call there through the commentary booth, and because they've both come in there, they said no bets, no more bets. The ball is spinning, and it's just waiting to see what the gamble is here. Racing mediums coming off the Hoon Corp. They're coming off the Mad Turtle Racer versus the Lightning Motorsports car. Obviously, the graphic doesn't tell us what they're on there. We have to wait until they exit the pit lane. But there comes in a short fuel stop there for both Joe Rudinsky and Mark Pacheco. And we have Joe Rudinsky on the racing soft tires, over half the tank on the car. Mark Pacheco, if he exits out the pit lane, is staying on the medium tires. Ooh, okay. Interesting. And this is this. So I wonder what's going to happen here. A lighter fuel tank on the Mad Turtle Racing Mercedes should be theoretically better on the soft tires because you don't wear out through the tires as much as you do compared to a full tank of fuel. But the racing mediums on that amount of fuel in the car, I'm not so sure with Mark Pacheco there.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be the right call. I mean, the only thing I see working Pacheco's way at the moment is the fact that Expat's got to run 10 laps on the softs, and we've really only seen people do 8 or 9 before the tyres are really, really in bad shape. So that's probably the only thing working his way. At the moment, he will be slower on track. Joe Rudinsky will gain a significant advantage of distance on Mark Pacheco in the next couple of the next 5 or 6 laps, and the crossover will only happen once we're on lap 21, 22. At that point, Pacheco will suddenly be faster and still on decent tyres. But I mean, you can see already the gap is exploding in terms of the size. Yeah. So I think Joe Rudinsky has made absolutely the right call here. And I don't think Pacheco has made the right call. If he was on the racing soft tyres, totally different ball game because he's got more fuel to play with.
And the funny thing was that Joe Rudinsky had more fuel in the car compared to Mark Pacheco, but Mark Pacheco overfilled the car compared to Joe Rudinsky. So Joe came out with 55, and Mark came out with 62. So the fuel number you're looking at that is roughly about 7 liters the same. So they came in with I think it was 21 and Joe Rudinsky 27. So 6 liters discrepancy in the fuel tank, and then now it's a 7-liter discrepancy between the two cars. So very interested to see what happens here. And we have calculated risk in Marcel Berton also come out on the racing mediums. So we have Mark Pacheco, Marcel, and Mark Hasel1 and Jack Finch all on the racing mediums, while the man that is inheriting the lead once the top 3 come into the pit lane on the racing softs here. This is really blown open the strategy gates here of what is going to happen here, because Jack Finch is coming under pressure from his teammate now, who is on the racing soft tires. So I'm very interested to see how he goes along here, and also Troy Britnell on the racing softs as well. So there's a lot of mixed strategies up here, George, to conclude Group B.
Going to be exciting. Let's see. Brian Emmett and Hogan come into the pits as well. They'll toss out their medium tyres, and we'll see what they end up on. They may end up on a soft tyre. They may end up on a medium. But there you go. There's no surprise there. Joe Rudinsky setting the fastest lap of this race at 32.5 flat. Very nice lap time, and creeping towards where the Group A guys have been on some of their stints. Fastest lap there was a 31 point. Was it 30? I think we actually got into the 30s, didn't we, in Group A? It was some ridiculous pace shown by Gautam Mahinagic out on the soft tyres for Brian Emmett in P8 now. Drops behind boosted Blake and Jack Finch, but he'll be quick towards the end of this race. Jack Finch still in the lead of AM class at the moment. But watch out behind him, because he's going to have some very fast Mercedes drivers drive on up close to him. Another person running very long at the moment, Aussie GTR for CP Motorsports. I wonder if he's... I don't think this does... This cannot be a fuel-saving no-stop. But it may well be. I just don't think he's got the fuel for it.
He hasn't got the fuel, and I don't think he's going to have the tyres to run another 7 more laps until the end of this race. So he looks like he's going to be coming into the pit lane either within this lap or the next lap, because he just knows he's losing time. 1 minute 35.2 on his previous best. So he's not coming into the pit lane now. See what his lap time is compared to Joe Rudinsky. So 35.2. So yeah, you're looking at about at least a 3-second discrepancy between what is a fresh compound of tyres versus a really, really worn set of racing mediums. So Joe Rudinsky just going to be cruising up to the back of the Ferrari within the next few laps. Whether that Ferrari comes into the pit lane pretty soon, it should be at the end of this lap, I would say. But Joe Rudinsky, you could just see that even if he does wear out his racing soft tyres, George, he's going to build a big enough gap over Mark Pacheco that Mark Pacheco's not going to be able to claw back any of the advantages that that expat has put on him.
Yeah, well, that's the key thing, isn't it? You know, you want to be optimizing that overall race time, and that's exactly what Expat's done. I mean, even if he loses a little bit of time, a little bit of a maneuver there. What's happened between Brian Emmett and Jack
Finch.
Brian Emmett and Jack Finch? They've come together in turn 1. Looks like Emmett has survived the encounter. And,
it's an overtake.
It is an overtake. Fantastic. Brian Emmett on the soft tyres going for it. And we did say something about maybe a little bit of karma for Jack Finch today with some of the maneuvers he's made early in the race. I wonder if that's the beginning of it.
Yeah, well, 1 minute 37 as on his lap time there, so it must have been a half-second penalty that he must have incurred through the infield section. So that's probably where he lost all the time. But I just noticed that as soon as I just saw Jack Finch and one of the Mad Turtle cars go side by side with each other, that he actually, you know, went around the outside, which led to the inside of the center S. So it was a brilliant move by the Mad Turtle driver, the substitute driver for Bob Massey, doing a fantastic job to be now the official leader of the AM class, because the top 6 are all Pro-Am drivers. So the driver in 7th place, Brian Emmett, but on debut, the leader of AM class, Jack Finch in P2, and Troy Britnell right behind in that Honda NSX. So the Honda NSX flying in both the Pro-Am and the AM class. Is he going to get past Jack Finch as he gets down the main straight? The Toyota Supra's got a lot more straight line advantage, but the braking performance of the Honda NSX might be a little bit better on those soft tyres. A 1 minute 32.9. So a really strong lap here by Troy Britnell. He's not gonna give this up whatsoever. Throws the car over, cuts the corner of the center S's. That's the way to take the racing line. Takes a nice sharp entry at the curve of the Sol, and now just gets to the back ends of that Toyota Supra. Will he get enough slipstream to pull over towards turn 4 and make the move on the seat of Delago? He throws it down the inside of the Supra, barges his way through. He's going to get the move done. No, Jack Finch just holds it around the outside. They're late on the brakes for the Honda NSX as they come up through Ferradura. The battle for P2 is on in the AM class, and it is so exciting to see Troy Britnell up there and challenging for this podium position.
Great to see. If you start to throw rocks from the moon, you may find that rocks are thrown back at you from Earth. Seems to be the case here for Jack Finch, experiencing a little bit of karma in this race, unfortunately, but still racing strong. In comes Aussie GTR into the pits. Bear in mind, this is critical for the AM class, currently led by Jack Finch. But only the points were much larger earlier in the season, but it's been deteriorating throughout the rest of the season so far. Chip Berry is in P2 for Black Rose Racing, so you can see him. He's down in, I think, P4 in the AM class, 10th overall at the moment. And then Troy Britnell, right hot on their heels. Mark Hogan's right there too. So this is absolutely critical, and a really good moment here for Brian Emmett, of course, on debut, but absolutely perfect timing for Jack Finch to be getting some really good points in this and try and sort of recoup and reset for the latter half of the season. So to have himself now be overtaken by the likes of Troy Britnell and maybe even Chip Berry in this race is going to be a very awkward moment for him, unfortunately. So let's keep an eye. Maybe Jack Finch can make a late charge on these soft runners. 5 laps to go in this race now. Keeping an eye on the rest of the field, but Expat Pacheco all said and done. Marcel Alberton looking like he's going to pick up P13. There is Chip Berry. He's not too far behind, only a couple of corners, and he's on the racing mediums though, so he's not going to be the fastest man on circuit. Question is, can he maybe make some maneuvers late in this race to try and get himself up towards Jack Finch? And he has just seen Booster Blake make the overtake on Mark Hasel1.
Yeah, so there you go. So what we thought was a struggling Supra is actually now come back into play with Boosted Blake up into P4 ahead of Mark Hasel1. But one driver to keep an eye out for, Hayden Jones, Aussie GDR, come out of the pit lane with 5 laps to go on a fresh set of soft tyres ahead of the AM class driver and Brian Emmett. This Ferrari is going to be lightning fast within the next 4 laps. I'm very excited to see where he ends up, see if he can get past both Mark Hasel1 and Blake Williamson in position forward. He might be able to get himself a really strong finishing position, probably his best finishing position if he gets ahead of these 2 drivers.
Yeah, will be a very, very interesting one to see if he's able to do that. Of course, racing mediums and slightly worn for Mark Hasel1, who came into the pits, I think, on lap 13. So he's been going for some time now on these tyres. And Aussie GTR with fresh softs, he'll hopefully be setting the timing boards alight. He is Pro-Am driver, so it'll be a battle for position. Booster Blake on the racing softs, though, so may not be catchable. That said, hasn't really escaped the clasps of the number 16 as yet. We're just watching this battle unfold at the moment. Hasel1 might be looking to make a little bit of an attack back through this infield section. This is where the Supra just doesn't feel quite at home, much more at home on the longer straights. And the BMW, while it's hard to get slowed down, will be quick through the apexes. You can see right there, Hasel1 doing his best just to hold onto the rear wing of Booster Blake as long as possible in this and just wait for hopefully a mistake from the soft tyre runner ahead of him, whose tyres are just going to be getting worse and worse every single corner from this point on. He's already used the main part of the grip there. There is Aussie GTR. This is looking on for a great battle for 5th overall.
Yeah, and I'm very excited. It's actually incredible to see how well Mark Hasel1 is doing to keep hold of the soft runner in Blake Williamson and P4. Booster Blake for Hoon Corp Esports, Mark Hasel1 for Hasel1 Motorsport. They just don't know. They need to keep their eyes open for this band, though. Hayden Jones, Aussie GDR, fresh on a soft tyres. He's coming up to the start-finish line. Will he set a fast lap there? No, a personal best 32.8. Probably a lot faster than the 2 drivers ahead of him, but he's got only 3 more laps to go here, George. Can he do it? He's right there. He's within grasp of the 2 drivers. Around about 2 seconds separates him and Mark Hasel1 ahead. So he just needs to be able to claw and just outbrake this Ferrari, throw the car into the corner, and really hope for Mark Hasel1 to put a charge on Blake Williamson. Maybe just throw the car down the inside, just scare him a little bit.
Do a Jack Finch,
that'll actually compromise both drivers. Yeah, compromise both drivers.
Do a Finchy. Yeah, that's the one. 34 threes is what Hasel1's doing at the moment, so Booster Blake won't be much better than that. 32.8, even though it was an invalid lap, was the last lap from Aussie GTR. So he's upwards of a second and a half faster a lap at the moment. Will it be enough is going to be the question. He's pulling right back up onto the back of these guys, probably in a couple of laps time, so he may have one opportunity. I think he's going to have one shot at this with Aussie GTR. It'll be a great result for him and CP Motorsports, who have been on fire today at Interlagos. The Ferrari is in its element at the moment, and the drivers certainly looking good at Interlagos currently. In the meantime, at the back to the top of the field, going back to the future here, but the top of the field, back to the top of the field. Anyway, before I lose myself in that conundrum, Expat has been doing incredibly well. The lap times haven't really been there, but it hasn't mattered at all. Pacheco's not able to catch up towards the end of this race. 2 laps to go, this and 1 more, and Pacheco is too far back to make any kind of attack. So Joe Rudinsky's switch over to the soft tyres, which is what we saw in the Group A for Gopi Mahinderjit. This is deja vu that we're getting right here. Are we in the Matrix? I'm not sure, but it's basically exactly the same situation as we saw between Gopi and Twitchy.
Yeah, absolutely. The softs just seem to be the much better tire to finish off with a lower fuel tank. It's you feel like it's just common sense to run that tire towards the end of the race. So, I mean, obviously I missed out in lobby A, and I wouldn't even know what these drivers were doing. So it's good for me to observe this back on the microphone to see what the drivers are actually doing. But it's just if you can see that the racing mediums run for a very long time, and then you think, well, you've only got a handful of laps to go. Is it really necessary to throw on a racing mediums to finish off this race, or is it better off to run a soft tire? So, very complex to see what the strategists were thinking about. But at the same time, Joe Rudinsky has just been a class above. Mark Pacheco just holding on to P2 and just going to hold off Marcel Albertin to finish at P2 and then P3 for the Black Rose Racing driver. But this is the battle we want to see. Hayden Jones seems to be a little bit too far unless something dramatic happens on this final lap, because the battle for P4 is on. Low on the fuel tank is Aussie
Ooh,
GDR,
yeah.
so he's going to have to keep an eye on that fuel tank. I don't think he's going to be able to put the charge anymore, but he's going to do his absolute best. He's going to throw 110% on that CP Motorsports Ferrari 458 Italia. But here's a run for Mark Hasel1. He's got a good launch out of the exit of the center S's. Blake Williamson goes on the defensive. So what does Mark do? Can he throw the car down the inside? There's not too many opportunities left for the Hasel1 driver. Goes defensive, does Blake Williamson, takes a tighter line through turns 4 and 5, which gives Mark Hasel1 the opportunity to try and get up onto the rear wing of that Supra, but he's only got a handful of quarters to go. Not too many opportunities for an overtake.
Yep, that's exactly right. We'll see what happens as we watch this battle illuminate itself. And Booster Blake has done well to hold off the attack with his wearing soft tires that just haven't had any life in them. And it looks like, yeah, for Aussie
Oh,
GTR,
this
he's
could be
actually
it.
lost the position. He's lost the position, has Aussie GTR to Brian Emmett. So he has a fuel problem. Little bit of a look there from Mark Hasel1 across the line. Will be our top 3 coming in a few moments' time. We're keeping an eye on this battle. We want to see what happens through the last corner. This is going to be the critical moment for Hasel1. He's going to try and take a wider line in, so may see himself with a good run down the straight. Joe Rudinsky wins, followed by Mark Pacheco, and then Marcel Albertin, your top 3 unchanged for some distance. But no, it's not going to be enough for Hasel1 at this point. There's no way he can make it past unless we go right to the line. No, too far back, unfortunately for Hasel1, not able to make that late charge that we were hoping to see. In the background, it is going to be, there's actually big damage there for the CP Motorsports driver. So something has happened between him and Brian Emmett late in this race that may go to the stewards room. Yeah, they are right together. They've come together at some point. Both of them have damage. So we will see if there's any stewards reports come post-race for that one. Other than that, Jack Finch goes down to P10. It's all gone wrong from today, unfortunately. It's not worked out at all, and we are going to go to our results screen. Good race overall, and we will get our results for Pro-Am up in a few moments' time. There we go. Joe Rudinsky winning, doing a Gofi Mahinaget. He does a pretty good Gofi Mahinaget impression in the Pro-Am category, and that's 35 points to his name after getting some great results in the sprint race as well, and starting on pole position here in the feature race. Mark Pacheco in a close second there, but the strategy was more akin to what Twitchy. So Mark Pacheco doing a good Twitchy impression today, unfortunately not able to get up onto that top spot. Marcel Albertin, a quiet race for him. Again, identical to what happened in Nick Pfaff. So the top 3 really doing a copy and paste from Group A in this race. And that's what we've seen today. Blake Williamson picks up P4, holding off Mark Hasel1 right to the end, wearing soft tires versus Mark Hasel1's mediums. And just Hasel1 did not have the pace, unfortunately, despite being on the rear wing for a number of laps at the end of the race. Hayden Jones, what we thought could have been today, unfortunately not worked out for him. In a battle, of course, with Brian Emmett from the AM class. Richard Robertson picks up P7, and then Jeff Bruin, unfortunately, a DNS today. Before we go to the AM class results, thoughts on driver of the day today, and you are allowed to be biased, Nick, because you weren't involved in this round of racing. You've got a license.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many honourable mentions up and down the field there. Obviously, I want Blake Williamson for a really strong recovery drive after what seemed to be a very poor racing medium strategy to finish up into P4 overall. Really good job to get the move done on Mark Hasel1. But I want to see if I can flick the page over, and I want to look into that AM class driver, Brian Emmett, taking line honours here for the first time in the MotorMotion campaign, and to win on his debut, putting on a strong performance there, filling in for Bob Massey. As we know what Bob Massey does, Bob Massey is the man in the AM class that, you know, really is a standout driver and really going to make that challenge for the championship when he makes his return. But to fill the void for Bob Massey and to come out with that with maximum points, that's Brian Emmett for my team and Aster Racing. A worthy driver of the day there, but honourable mention as well to Blake Williamson for a great drive as well.
All right, we've confirmed Nick Patesso is bias. No, it's all good. I completely agree. Yeah, here are the results. Of course, Brian Emmett, great result there on debut. Troy Brittonell, one of his best results of the season, so definitely to celebrate for him. Jack Finch third, Chip Berry not able to make it up into that top three. That's unfortunately a couple of points that he would have liked to be having in his championship fight back against Jack Finch. He's second, so Jack Finch first, and finishing behind him, not going to feel too good for Chip Berry, but fourth still good overall. Graham Splint finishes in fifth, Hogan in sixth, and of course Wade Rushton, Ben Blaker not serving the race today. So I think, you know, honestly, on debut, it is a great result, and I think I completely agree with you on that one, Nick. So maybe the bias isn't yet confirmed. We shall see in the upcoming 4 rounds. That is your race today. The overall standings sound approximately like this. Jack Finch still leads AM title from Chip Berry from Troy Brittonell. In Pro-Am, it's still Joe Rudinsky from Hasel1 from Marcel L. Burton. And then in the Pro title, it is Matt McCullum from Glen Mead, who's they've had a switch of positions there between the two of them this round, and then Matthew Joynson in third. Gove Mahindajit still leads Elite by some distance from Nick Pfaff, and then Guy Barbara, despite having only raced about 3 or 4 races, has found himself up into third position ahead of Andrew Scott in fourth. In the team's title, Mad Turtle still leading by, I think that's 34 points at the moment, from Hooncorp Esports, who are both way ahead of the rest of the field there. Aster Racing on 567, Hooncorp on 638 and 672 for Mad Turtle Racing. Black Rose Racing in fourth. Equal points to Aster Racing, both on 567. So battle still for the podium, last podium position there in the team's title. Gridline Racing, Lightning Motorsports, Hasel1, and then CP Motorsports. Actually getting a little bit closer down the back of the team's title as well, which is really good to see. And still plenty of distance to go in this season. 4 races still to come. And of course, we will be seeing a number of those on our screens in a few moments' time. We might be able to bring up the calendar and just show people what we have in store for round 7. Of course, it is Watkins Glen, and then it'll be Daytona, Autopolis, and Mount Panorama. Watkins should provide some really interesting stuff because it's got a lovely infield section that favors some cars, and then they've got the high-speed sections through turn 1 all the way up down the straight to the chicane, and then of course on that main pit straight next. It's going to be an interesting one at Watkins next week.
Yeah, Watkins is a very favourite track amongst our drivers here in this series. So it's obviously making its return to the calendar. So it is going to be a very tough race. Obviously, the tyres are going to be very heavily worn around there. So we're going to be seeing a lot of potential alternate strategies. Maybe some drivers are not going to be running that soft compound at all. They probably just might think it's a toxic tire not to run on, but we'll see how it favors with this current BOP, but balance of performance with the cars. But something I look forward to, Watkins Glen, I do really enjoy driving it in the GT3 cars. The one track I'm not looking forward to is round 9 because it is a tire shredder for my controller pads. So I'm not looking forward to that whatsoever. But so hopefully I should be able to avoid that, but I will still be there because you do miss one round and you just want to be able. Exactly. But I did miss Interlagos, so it can't. Unfortunately, I have to put myself into the driver roster to actually race at Autopolis. So, do my absolute best. But Watkins Glen, Daytona, a really favourite track of mine as well, and Mount Panorama to finish off the season. So, the second half of the calendar year is going to be very fun for our drivers and for Mad Turtle Racing in my camp.
Indeed. Oh, bias confirmed again. Ooh, gotta watch it there, Nick. Anyway, yes, I completely agree. It's going to be an interesting one for the rest of the season. That's going to be our broadcast today for both Group A and Group B. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, of course, to go and support Player1 Sim Gear over at p1simgear.com.au. Go and check out MotorMotion E-Series for all your news and articles and updates on their Facebook page, in their Discord as well. and of course on the website www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com. The broadcasting today brought to you by TrackSpot TV, proudly broadcasting the partnership of MotorMotion E-Series and TrackSpot TV. Check us out on www.trackspot.tv. I've been George Cook, leading you through today's commentary. We have had Andrew Scott in for Group A, Nick Pautasso in for Group B, and on the tools in the background, our Scottish man, who's been an absolute legend on the cameras, John Wright. From all of us here today and from the Interlagos camp and commentary box, it's been a pleasure bringing you today's broadcast. Stay safe out there. Take care. We will see you back here for round 7